Picking up girls, according to Freud, is one of the easiest things you can learn in life. There's a secret, proven method in this video that will improve your skills with women and socially tenfold. Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, used to say that people are driven by forces they themselves are unaware of. And in the realm of attraction, this truth becomes brutally clear. A woman doesn't desire what is logical. She desires what defies her structure. What doesn't make sense? What escapes control? And if you understand this, you've already taken the first step towards ceasing to be predictable and becoming dangerous. But be careful. This video is not for amateurs. It's not for those who still think seduction is just about having something to talk about or being funny. What we're going to reveal here requires courage. But first, I leave you with a challenge. As you watch this content, observe your discomfort. Pay attention to the moments when your mind wants to deny what you're hearing. These are the exact points where you've been conditioned to be weak. Just 3% of men ever unlock this, and once they do, their entire reality shifts. The Forbidden Manual reveals how to trigger desire in just 60 seconds. And when you get it, you'll instantly receive 3 secret ebooks, free. Tools to sharpen your mind, your control, and your power. Tap the link in the pinned comment. You walk into the bar, look around, and see the kind of woman who makes the world seem to slow down. Impeccable hair, a proud posture, a gaze that seems to know more than she's saying. Within seconds, your mind is already constructing a narrative. I need to say something funny. I have to show confidence. I can't seem nervous. And without realizing it, you've already lost. Because every time a man enters a performance state, trying to prove, convince, or impress, he abdicates his true power. The power to be the enigma, not the solution. The challenge, not the distraction. From an early age, we've been programmed with a childish idea that winning someone over is a matter of being nice, friendly, and present. As if attraction were a logical equation. If I'm good enough, she'll like me. This is the most dangerous myth there is, because it turns men into attention givers, professional validators, and compulsive pleasers. And the cruelest thing about all this is that the more you try to be what you think she wants, the further you become from what truly attracts her. A man who doesn't need her approval to exist. Seduction isn't about creating desire. It's about awakening the desire that already exists within her. But this desire doesn't respond to ready-made phrases, polite smiles, or good conversation. It responds to a visceral sense of tension, danger, and unpredictability. The problem is that most men try to eliminate tension, when in fact they should be amplifying it. Because it's there, in the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the void, that female desire resides. This is where the idea of instant attraction falls apart, because desire isn't linear. It doesn't follow a script. It's activated by microstimuli, contradictions, broken expectations, and above all, by the perception of hidden value. What makes you attractive isn't what you show, but what you let slip. It's the silence charged with intention. The look that reveals intensity without words. The way you dominate the room with presence, not noise. And this is the first illusion you need to shatter. Attraction isn't born from what's delivered quickly. It's born from what's perceived slowly. A woman may even notice you in seconds, but real desire, the kind that keeps her awake at night, the kind that makes her imagine scenarios, the kind that holds her attention even without a text message. That kind of desire isn't born from haste. It's cultivated in mystery, in subtle play, in the space between what she sees and what she imagines about you. But why does this illusion persist? Why do so many men still believe it's possible to win a woman with speed? The answer is brutal, because it's sold. Literally. The seduction industry has built an empire by exploiting male fear and anxiety. Phrases like, get any woman in 30 seconds, 3 mental triggers to make her chase you, the secret to winning her over in 1 minute, are lures for men desperate for validation. And validation, my friend, is the death of attraction. Consider the pickup artists mentioned in Neil Strauss's The Game. Many of them were former nerds, social outcasts, who sought seduction not just as a form of pleasure, but as a form of revenge for years of invisibility. The problem, when they won, they didn't know how to sustain it, because they were still needy boys inside their performative shells. And no matter how well they managed to get women into bed, they were never truly desired. They weren't unforgettable. They were technicians, mechanical. And a woman quickly forgets what was technical, but she never forgets what was instinctive. Real seduction begins when you abandon the rush and enter a woman's psychological time. A time where what matters isn't speed, but the emotional density of the experience. When you understand that being attractive is less about doing something and more about suggesting something, you leave the race of the desperate. You become rare. And what is rare doesn't need to be chased. It is naturally pursued. And here's the paradox few understand. The more you chase results, the more you reveal scarcity. And scarcity is the opposite of magnetism. A woman doesn't want what's always available, predictable, and all too present. She wants what challenges her, what triggers her curiosity, not her logic. What makes her wonder, what's he hiding? Why doesn't he try to impress me? Has he already understood me better than I understand myself? This is the dance that great seducers understand. And here comes a historical figure almost no one associates with seduction, but who was a master, Machiavelli. He wasn't talking about flirting or dating, but about power. And seduction, at its core, is a silent battle for emotional dominance. Machiavelli said, "The appearance of virtue is more useful than virtue itself." In other words, what seduces is not who you are, it's what you make her feel you are. It's controlled perception, the calculated image, the invisible narrative you construct, not with words, but with atmosphere. And this leads us to an uncomfortable revelation. If you're trying to be yourself to win someone over, you've already lost. Because the you you've been trained to be by society is harmless, nice, and emotionally predictable. What you need to become is the version of yourself that understands social theater and knows how to direct its own script, not to manipulate, but to create tension. Because where there is no tension, there is no eros. And where there's no eros, you'll always be the nice guy, the friend, the approachable one, the replaceable one. Now see how all this connects to the concept of feminine resistance. Many men interpret disinterest as rejection, when in reality she's just testing whether you're solid enough to sustain her. Freud explained this as the pleasure principle in conflict with the reality principle. She feels something, but resists, because the female unconscious desires intensity, but the social consciousness fears judgment. That's why she doesn't give in to the guy quickly. Not because he's no good, but because he's obvious. And the obvious never wins over the unconscious. You need to be the mystery into which she projects desire. And that doesn't happen in 30 seconds, nor with magic phrases. It requires you to change your energy, your presence, your structure. It requires you to stop seeking to conquer and start provoking the imagination. Because a woman doesn't fall in love with a man. She falls in love with what she imagines about him. And if you're a book she reads from the first page, she closes it and moves on to another. This is the root of the illusion. Thinking that winning someone over quickly is a sign of power, when in fact, it's a sign of desperation. True power lies in not rushing, in being the man she silently observes, silently wonders about, silently desires. And when she realizes it, she's too involved to escape, and that's when you begin to stop being just another man and begin to become unforgettable. But this is only possible when you understand what lies behind female desire. And for that, we need to delve even deeper, into the hidden zones of the mind, into what Freud called repression, into the desire that arises precisely from what is repressed, forbidden, and unspoken. Imagine there's a dark room inside every woman's mind. A room where the rules of the external world don't apply, where right and wrong lose their power, where what's desirable isn't what's beautiful, but what's forbidden. And the most fascinating, and at the same time dangerous thing, is that she herself doesn't hold the key to this door. Freud called this the unconscious. And it's in this subterranean dimension that true desire is born. Desire isn't a choice, desire is a reaction. And the most brutal part, she doesn't know, rationally, why she's attracted to you, or why she simply loses interest. Because what determines this is beneath the surface, operating silently, sabotaging intentions, tearing apart logical discourses, and throwing away any ideal man checklist she might have made with her friends. Freud revolutionized psychology by asserting that we are driven not by what we know, but by what we repress. He called this repression. Everything the conscious mind can't handle, it throws into the basement. But the basement isn't a cemetery, it's a laboratory. That's where true desires ferment, and that's where you need to act if you want to make a real impact. The woman who says, "I like sincere men," may be the same one who falls for an enigmatic man who hides more than he reveals. The one who says, "I want a caring guy," may be attracted to someone who challenges her emotionally. This isn't hypocrisy. It's a conflict between ego and instinct, between what she thinks she wants and what her body responds to without permission. This is precisely why seduction based on logic is useless. Overpraising, pleasing, showing constant availability, all of this feeds her ego, but doesn't activate desire. Because desire isn't born from predictability, it's born from symbolic threat, from you being something she can't control emotionally. And here comes the most misunderstood concept of all. Women don't want what's easy. They want what's dangerous in seductive doses. And here, danger isn't about being a scoundrel or destructive. It's about being emotionally unpredictable, symbolically inaccessible, psychologically challenging. It's about her feeling she's facing something that can destabilize her, and for that very reason, attracts her. This tension echoes the early relationship with desire, the child who feels but is forbidden to express. Repressed desire transforms into symbolic desire. And that's why so many women are drawn to figures who represent this symbol. Artists, mysterious men, magnetic leaders, even criminals. It's not what they do. It's what they represent in the female unconscious, the breakdown of order, the rupture of structure, the escape from the predictable. But that doesn't mean you have to become a character. It means you have to become a living metaphor. A man who represents something beyond the literal, who carries layers, who leaves gaps, who says little, but when he does, he hits where no one else does. Who knows how to be silent without seeming weak. That doesn't react automatically, and therefore becomes impossible to decipher. This unpredictability is an ancient weapon. Casanova, the greatest seducer in Western history, was a master at it. He didn't seduce by telling a woman what she wanted to hear. He created an atmosphere where she felt alive, challenged, and unstructured. He was the stage where she acted out her own hidden desires. And that's the key. You don't have to tell her what she wants. You have to make her feel what she doesn't know she needs. Freudian seduction isn't about objective actions. It's about creating emotional experiences. That's why often, the more you try to please, the more she pulls away. Because pleasing too much creates comfort. And comfort doesn't excite. Have you ever noticed how some women only become interested when you disappear, or when you seem indifferent? This is repression in action. Desire is activated in absence, in emptiness, in the unspoken. And here's the most fascinating and most disconcerting part. A woman desires what confronts her. Not aggressively, but symbolically. She desires a man who doesn't bow to her expectations, who doesn't adapt to her moods, who doesn't seek approval, who doesn't buckle emotionally at the slightest sign of rejection. Because, instinctively, she recognizes, this is a man she can't control. And what can't be controlled needs to be conquered. This is what ignites the game of desire. Freud said that the unconscious knows no time. This means she may be sitting in front of you, smiling, saying everything is fine, but inside her there are old scenes, childhood desires, traumas, idealizations, all mixed together in an emotional cauldron that will explode or close depending on the atmosphere you create. And the most powerful thing, you don't need to understand everything about her. You need to understand how her unconscious works. Because a woman doesn't rationally choose who she will love. She feels and then justifies it. Your role is to be the spark, the dissonant element, the factor that activates the labyrinth within her. And this requires you to abandon the performance, that you stop trying to appear seductive, and start embodying a solid, silent, and enigmatic emotional structure. A woman desires intensity, but not desperate intensity. Contained intensity, directed. And this kind of energy can only be manifested when you're not trying to prove anything, just observing, feeling, provoking with presence. Cleopatra, perhaps the most enigmatic female archetype in history, seduced emperors not just with beauty, but with symbolic power. She represented the mystery of the East, the woman who knew secrets the Romans would never understand. Her seduction was a theater. a ritual, an invitation to the unknown. She awakened the imagination, and the imagination is the source of desire. Do you want to truly seduce? Then become an experience, not a distraction. Be the man who enters a room and changes the frequency, who doesn't seek acceptance but observation, who doesn't give everything away but leaves traces. A woman doesn't want answers. She wants questions she herself can't formulate. She wants to feel that there's something in you that challenges the narrative of her life. And this brings us to the central idea of this chapter. Female desire is a war between the social and the instinctual, between the image of control she tries to maintain and the emotional avalanche she represses. You don't need to break this barrier. You need to activate the tension. Be the provocation. Be the symbol. Freud said that desire is always a desire for something else. It's never direct. And that's why a woman desires what she doesn't understand, what escapes, what resists logical interpretation. But there's a fatal mistake many make when they discover this. They try to artificially play the enigmatic. They create a cold, distant, arrogant persona. This doesn't trigger desire, it triggers defense. The true enigma isn't what's hidden, it's what's revealed in doses, in layers, in rhythms. The man who knows how to oscillate between presence and absence, intensity and lightness, interest and retreat, that's the man who disarms the mind and seduces the body. You need to learn to dance with the feminine unconscious. And this dance begins with the understanding that everything that is too clear is disposable. That a woman doesn't desire perfection, but depth. That what excites her is not security, but the controlled abyss, the symbolic emotional risk, the sweet threat, the chaos under control. And ultimately, what she wants, even if she'll never admit it, is to be destabilized by someone she can't read. Because that's the only way she feels something real is happening. That this isn't just a social game anymore. That this isn't just another one. And if you understand this, then you're ready for the next step. You spent your entire life believing you needed to approach, invest, prove yourself. That you needed to be the first to declare yourself, the first to invite, the first to compliment. All of this led you to become just another man. One among hundreds of men who kneel emotionally before a woman, waiting for her to say yes, as if the power were on her side. But what if I told you that the true seducer isn't the one who approaches, but the one who provokes the approach? That the truly magnetic man is the one who makes her move inside and out without even seeming interested? This is the most uncomfortable secret Freud left us. A woman doesn't connect with someone who gives everything. She connects with someone who activates within her the game of lack, projection, and imagination. That's why the most powerful method there is the inverted method, the one that breaks with everything you've learned. It doesn't seduce with words. It seduces with absence. It doesn't conquer through excess. It conquers through emptiness charged with tension. Imagine a theater where you're not on stage, but you control the lighting. You don't show off. You reveal enough so she wants to see more. This is how the inverted method works. You don't play her game. You create your own. And when she enters your world, the dynamic changes completely. She's no longer reacting to you. She's trying to figure you out. How do you apply this in practice? First, stop seeking immediate emotional connection. Every eager man wants to create a connection on the first date. He talks too much, opens up too much, seeks affinity as if desperate to be accepted. The inverted seducer does the opposite. He creates gaps. He observes more than he speaks. He takes his time revealing who he is because he knows that mystery is the fuel of desire. He lets the conversation seem simple, but every pause, every silence, every subtle smile carries tension. And this tension is what imprints the experience on her body. Second, emotional scarcity. Never be too available. Don't respond immediately. Don't overly compliment. Don't declare your interest too soon. The scarce man is the one who lingers in memory. A woman needs to feel that being with you is rare, that your attention isn't automatic, that you choose carefully. This activates her instinct for conquest. She begins to act to keep your attention. She invests. And when she invests, she's captivated. Third, silent presence. The inverted seducer isn't loud. He doesn't need to show off, doesn't need to attract attention with flashy clothes or striking phrases. He stands out by the opposite, by his calm magnetism. He's there, firm, with poise, with a steady gaze, with well-placed silence. He looks in a way that says, I understand more than you think, and I'm not going to tell you everything now. And that, to the female unconscious, is intoxicating. Fourth, subtle mirroring. He doesn't copy her behavior, he reflects her desire indirectly. If she shows intensity, he becomes more enigmatic. If she tries to provoke him, he smiles with a calmness that dismantles the game. He doesn't engage in the usual dance. He creates a new choreography, and this completely disarms the female ego, which is accustomed to predictable reactions. Fifth, tension without resolution. This is the most difficult point, and the most powerful. The ordinary seducer wants to resolve everything quickly. Kiss, set up a date, declare feelings. The inverted seducer understands that tension is what keeps the imagination alive. He creates situations of closeness that don't resolve immediately. He touches subtly and then pulls away. He compliments a detail and changes the subject. He kisses and leaves at the peak. He understands that the woman doesn't want the ending. She wants the journey. And the journey is only exciting when it's not predictable. This method isn't about being indifferent. It's about being strategically ambiguous. The woman needs to feel attracted and challenged at the same time. She needs to feel that you're present, but not surrendered, that you care, but don't depend on her, that you desire, but don't need her. This ambiguity is the exact point where female desire explodes. It's the space where her unconscious finds freedom to project whatever it wants, and this freedom is what binds her to you. But be careful. The reverse method only works if you're solid inside. If you're feigning emotional control, she'll sense it. If you're trying to manipulate, she'll react defensively. The man who applies this method needs to be truly at ease with the possibility of losing. Because it's this real detachment, not a show, that makes him magnetic. True power lies in not needing, in not begging, in knowing that what you offer is too rare to be handed over on a silver platter. And that's why this method seems counterintuitive. Because it doesn't follow impulse. It doesn't respond to immediate desire. It plants, it cultivates. It disappears when everyone else appears. It creates questions when everyone else offers answers. He is the enigma within which she constructs her own story. This is the pinnacle of seduction. When she wonders why she thinks so much about you, why she's imagining the next encounter, why she feels the need to win you over when she barely knows how you truly feel, why you didn't give in. You insinuated yourself. You left traces, and now she's trapped in the narrative she created for herself. The inverted method works because it understands the deepest principle of the female mind. She desires what makes her doubt herself, what takes her out of her comfort zone, what shatters her predictability. It's not about being cold, it's about being symbolic, being the enigma, the man who doesn't seduce, but hypnotizes. And when she's completely hooked, don't say you won her over. Say you let her lose herself, because what she truly desires has never been control. She wants to be shaken, she wants to be challenged, she wants to lose herself in someone who doesn't give in easily. And now that you understand this, use it wisely, because this method doesn't attract just any woman. It attracts those who live repressed by normalcy. If you've made it this far, something inside you has already changed. And no, it wasn't a change in the way you speak, walk, or dress. It was something deeper, an internal recalibration. Because now you no longer see women as enigmas to be solved, but as mirrors of your own insecurities or your own structure. You've understood that true seduction begins when you stop trying and become the stimulus that activates what she represses. You no longer need to show off, prove, or chase. You just need to learn to position yourself as the one who doesn't give everything, but who gives enough to spark storms within her. Because in the end, the woman worth having isn't looking for a provider of compliments, but a mirror of intensity. What Freud revealed, what Green codified, and what Strauss dramatized is now in your hands as a strategic weapon. You have the method, you know the psyche, and if you use it precisely, you'll stop being the disposable guy and become the symbol she can't erase from her mind. But be careful. Knowledge without practice is vanity. Apply, test, adjust, go beyond entertainment. And if you want to delve even deeper into this invisible game of attraction, I recommend our audiobook, The Forbidden Manual, How to Trigger Desire in 60 Seconds by me. But be careful, don't listen like you're studying. Read like you're deciphering codes. Because true masters don't follow rules, they understand symbols.